If we could define eugenics in one sentence, it would be the one Charles Benedict Davenport used in a small brochure he wrote, which reads as follows: Eugenics, the science of human improvement through better reproduction. Revisiting the principles of eugenics, we find it in ancient Greece, not just in Sparta, whose eugenic orientation was for the formation of soldiers, which is why Sparta did not produce philosophers after the so-called laws of Lycurgus. If we look at works such as Plato's Republic and Aristotle's Politics, we will see some points that are very similar to eugenicist thought. In the first book, there is the myth of the three races that are presented as the golden race, the silver race and the iron race. In this myth, Plato wants to highlight the three constituent types of people in their ideal state, with the golden race being the noblest, the silver race the average and the iron race the inferior, whose mixture between the three groups would cause the degeneration of the state. The modern eugenics concept separates individuals into superior, average and inferior, within the same racial group, that is, the white race, whose mixing would lead to social manipulation. In the second book, we have Aristotle saying that the duty of the state was to provide individuals with a good birth, that it does not allow the weak and the imbecile to multiply, as this would also lead to social manipulation. This idea is also present in modern eugenics. See the Davenport pamphlet mentioned at the beginning of the text. Havelock Ellis, in the book, The Task of Social Hygiene, tells us that the embryo of what would become modern eugenics was described by Tommaso Campanella in his The City of the Sun, a utopia from the beginning of the 17th century. After Campanella, we have Francis Galton, the founder of eugenics as a science. Initially, in the early stages of the new science, it did not differ from Darwinism in substantial matters, but the eugenics idea was distinct from Darwin's, who postulated natural selection as being what would lead species to evolve. Galton reversed the logic, postulating artificial selection after Darwin's work on the crossing of plants and how they became better after artificial selection. It is worth noting that eugenics as a science was born in 1883. This name comes from Greek and means well-born, or good race. It was only at the beginning of the 20th century that eugenics was radically distinguished from Darwinism in two currents. The Malthusians, the Mendelians and the latter, under the aegis of Darwin's theory, were classified as neo-Darwinists, with the latter being given the concept of defenders of social Darwinism, which had been created by Herbert Spencer. Regarding the first two groups, the Malthusians were concerned with the population, the Mendelians with the genetics of the population, both creating various methods of racial assessment, such as biometrics, statistical methods of racial design and mapping of families, both illustrative and imbecilic in their eagerness to study them and improve the new generations, avoiding the procreation of the latter and encouraging the former. It is also worth noting that in the 20th century, eugenics gained wide support in both political spectrums, right and left, although leftists today do everything they can to try to hide this past. At the beginning of the aforementioned century, worldviews, as well as theoretical production, were far from being a monopoly of the left as we see today. Another interesting curiosity is that Darwin himself rejected the racist theories created based on his work. This information can be found in the book The Progress of Eugenics by Caleb Williams Saleeby.